EAGLES. Eagles.
Good morning, Eagles Nation. Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365, a game day edition of Birds 365. John, we don't get to say a game day edition on Birds 365 too much, but with a Friday night game, here we are.
Yeah, it's going to be every. You got Friday nights, you got Thursday night, Monday night, you got the occasional whatever Black Friday as well on Amazon. You've had the Eagles played on a Tuesday once, at least when the big snowstorm a couple years ago. So, yeah, these games are annoying though, to be honest.
Yeah, we're like
Friday night lights, blah blah blah. Yeah, leave it for the high schools, but we know the NFL is a money grab. So, the Eagles start in Sao Paulo, Brazil, home game, by the way. Zander, Krause.
Yeah, they travel 4,000 plus miles for a home game. Get a load of that one, everybody. But it is game day. It's Football Friday. We appreciate everybody being here this morning. Got a great show planned. We'll have Ed Kracz in hour number 1, and then Johnny Mac and I will preview this game in hour number 2. Looking forward to it. A great game last night, though, Johnny Mac, to kick off the NFL season. Boy, it's tough for me to these night games, Johnny Mac. They run late into the night, but a great game last night. What was your thoughts on that game last night?
Yeah, classic NFL, great ending, and everybody forgets how bad it was to get there, starting with the illegal formation flags in the first quarter. I mean, this league is so over legislated. I talk about it all the time. It's insanity what they do. And who knows why they do it, and they don't do it consistently. So everybody, day one, it drives me insane, is complaining about the officials. That's all they're doing. And those poor guys, by the way, it ain't their fault. They're just doing what they're told to do. It's the league's fault, and they're so we're with that. That's something you got to keep an eye on tonight, because, let's be honest, the Eagles tend to get a little bit of extra room when they line up with Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. So it'll be interesting to see if they're going to continue to be stringent. And then from the standpoint, everybody thinks because Taylor Swift and Travis and the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and they did seem to be very strict with the Ravens, but not so strict with Kansas City. So blah, blah, blah. But great ending. And everybody forgets it. And even the ending, by the way, Isaiah likely looked like he had a tremendous game. Looked like his toe was out. And then you got the screenshots where it looked like it may be in, and blah, blah, blah. And then I got Football Zebras, who's great, tremendous at Football Zebras. Follow him on X. Here's a perfect example of the NFL. The entire step is counted. If he lands on the heels and holds it, then it's a touchdown. But if it's heel toe or toe heel, you count the entire foot and it's not a touchdown. That's what they asked the officials in the moment to do. This league is insanity. But nonetheless, he was out of bounds, and Chiefs win. Was fun seeing Xavier Worthy and that speed. Nobody uses speed better than Andy Reid.
Yep.
It's fun seeing Andy and all his little tweaks. And the Ravens got some issues, man. I didn't think Mark Andrews looked healthy. That's big for them. And their offensive line is a work in progress. They got 3 new offensive linemen, so they're going to need some time to gel. They couldn't deal with Chris Jones at all.
Yeah, no doubt. It was a great game, though, last night. It's great to see real football back on the screen with the NFL. So looking forward to the game tonight. Johnny Mac, just 12 hours away, John, from the Philadelphia Eagles kicking off in Sao Paulo, Brazil, versus the Green Bay Packers. How you feeling this Friday morning as we prepare now for the Eagles to kick off? It's been, John, here's a tweet I see right now. It's been 234 days since we lost to the Bucs in the playoffs. And here we are ready to kick off the 2024-2025 campaign with the Philadelphia Eagles. How you feeling on this Football Friday, John?
Oh, by the way, one last thing about the game last night, then I'll get to the Eagles. The dynamic kickoff. Yeah, bunch of touchbacks. All right, thanks. Thanks, guys. So that was strange. So ended up, we'll see if the Eagles. I assume the league copies each other. So that's what I kind of predicted. Bunch of touchbacks, and they'll say 5 yards isn't that big of a difference, and it was a bunch of touchbacks. So we'll see if the rest of the league follows suit. As far as this game, I mean, marquee matchup similar to last night. But I think you saw last night, if you learned anything from last night, there's going to be some growing pains with the lack of practice time and preseason that we talk about all the time. Preseason reps for the starters. With the Eagles' new offensive coordinators, you never say never. The first game of Chip Kelly, they came out like a house of fire, and then it, obviously slowed from there. Many good moments people tend to forget, but I'm not trying to re-legislate Chip. I'm saying, don't get too high if they come out and they look a little bit sloppy. And on the other hand, if it turns into that anomaly, like Xavier Worthy's a good example. Well, yeah, the guy can run. I mean, my Lord, it just stands out on film in a league where everybody is fast. But he's also really small. They blew the coverage on the second touchdown. People are going to try to get their hands on him and try to physical him, try to knock him off his. So there'll be adjustments to that, and we'll see if Andy can. He's not the football player that Tyreek Hill is, who can do a bunch of different things. But the speed is intoxicating. So my point to all this is, don't get too high, don't get too low, depending on what happens tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. John, news came down yesterday that Isaiah Rodgers would be out in this game. We talked about it a little bit, that we thought Keely Ringo was a better matchup for these receivers. But what do you make of the Isaiah Rodgers news? What does that mean for Quinyon Mitchell, for Keely Ringo, for the other cornerbacks on the team, for Vic Fangio? What's your takeaway on Isaiah Rodgers being out tonight, the second guy on the 53-man roster who will miss the game?
Yeah, I don't think game plan wise it's that big of a deal this week, especially because of the Packers receivers, and most of them, with the exception of Jaden Reed, are size guys. And it would have been a tough matchup for Isaiah. He's really small for an outside corner. So that's the number one concern to begin with. But I kind of immediately went, and by the way, Isaiah is hurt. This isn't, I know a lot of people say Devin White popped up from nowhere. He was dealing with something. He missed the 2 practices after the cut to the initial 53. Then he was back Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but in a limited fashion. They did take him off kickoffs, so that should have been a sort of a sign. But we weren't allowed to report on kickoffs. Now he's out, so I can say that. So that should have been a bit of a sign that there was some concern. But I think there's a silver lining here, and I've advocated since day one. Vic is already on record saying Quinyon's going to play every snap, but he was going to play, outside if there are only 2 cornerbacks on the field, then move inside to the slot. Now you don't have Rodgers. Just keep him outside. Just keep him outside. That's where he's going to be anyway. Just start him, leave him alone, and then you persevere with Devonta Maddox or even Cooper DeJean. And I know a lot of people will point to the fact that he said Cooper's not ready yet, but I'll tell you what, man, Vic likes to run blitz his slot corners. And the one thing Cooper did well in that preseason game was that run blitz. So he's got a bunch of different options. The most obvious being just insert Ringo into the Rodgers role, but it can also just leave Quinyon Mitchell outside and play Devonta Maddox in the slot or Cooper DeJean in the slot. I'd lean towards the latter, probably Avante.
That's what I think. I mean, that's what my gut would tell me to do, but that doesn't mean I'm right. But I just think with this team, get some experience out there. Avante's always been a great slot corner. It's never ability has never been his problem.
Yeah, it's been health. He's
Yeah,
healthy. At least take
exactly.
advantage of him when he's healthy.
I know.
I've said that since day one. Maybe he's not healthy after this game, but if he gets you through this game, whatever. But Vic admits, he said it numerous times. Look, Quinyon eventually is going to be just an outside corner. So why wait? That's where you want to go. That's where you want to be. Why wait?
Makes sense to me. We'll see what they end up doing there tonight. I wonder if it'll be a little bit of a rotation, John, depending on what he has out there, whether it's a nickel or whatever Vic puts on the field. He might rotate him around, right?
Yeah, it's always possible. I mean,
Yeah.
Vic does a lot of different stuff. And if he starts with Kaylee and Kaylee doesn't play well, he might do something else. But yeah, not everything's fluid. I mean, that's kind of the talk of Nakobe Dean. I know all the Devin White truthers are upset. It doesn't mean, Nakobe Dean just shows up and he's got the job for the year. It means he won the job. If he plays poorly, it's open to change, like everything in the NFL. And the same thing here with somebody who might have a huge advantage, like, Kaylee Ringo to start. If he does start, you got to perform. If one of those Packers receivers gets behind him twice early in the game, obviously that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll see what ends up happening tonight. Johnny Mac, we'll see. Look, I think this team is there's a lot of excitement. You saw the Eagles posting the stuff yesterday. It's almost like they're trying to quiet everybody from saying they didn't want to play in Brazil with saying the vibes are high.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
Boy, man. Nick was playing the hits yesterday. That's what I said. It was all fluff and Friday Night Lights, and we're thrilled to be. It was brutal with all the Portuguese reporters. No offense to obviously it's a big deal, so I get it. But it's it's not like a normal game. It's not like a normal opener. More of the focus is on South America, first game in Brazil. It's more of a Super Bowl feel than a real NFL game feel, as far as all the weird media asking bluff questions, but it's part of the process. You got to get through it.
John, I want to ask you about Jalen Hurts. Do you think he has the most pressure coming into the game tonight? I know it's week 1 and you can't overreact, but this is Philly, man. That's how it works, right? Everybody's going to react. Who does have the most pressure coming into this game? To me, it's Jalen Hurts. But is it Nick? Is it Kellen? Is it Jalen? What's your what do you think of that coming into the game?
It's always every game. It's always the quarterback and the coach. Every game, every single game, all 17 games plus. It's quarterback and coach. 1 and 1A, depending on where you want to go. And to a certain degree, Nick was actually talking about that, and he threw in Howie as well from a personnel standpoint. So those are the 3 public-facing guys who get the praise or the criticism generally. In the case of Nick, I guess I put Nick on top, because in the case of Nick, I don't think anybody's going to praise him. If the Eagles go 14-3, they're going to say, "Oh, see, it was Kellen and Vic." So I guess it would be Nick a little bit more, but especially after the off season that Jalen had, he made it very known that he wanted more autonomy at the line of scrimmage, which he's always wanted. It's just made it more. He vocalized it more this off season, a little bit more from his perspective. But yeah, I don't see how Nick gets any credit. So
I
That's
know
a tough
it's
position
weird.
to be in.
Yeah, it is. It's a weird setup for Nick Sirianni. John, as we enter the game tonight, what are you looking for to see from Jalen Hurts? Is it a different quarterback? Is it a pro style offense with Kellen Moore? Is it how he reads the blitzes? What are you looking for as you watch that game tonight to
Oh, it's
see
all the
from
blitz.
Jalen
All the blitz.
blitzes?
Everything about this season is about the blitz. Everything. I hate to boil it down. Everything. All the other stuff is just, hey, look at the shiny bauble.
Right.
All the motion and all that stuff. It's all about preparing him for the blitz. Is he prepared to handle the blitz on the field? Because that's not Kellen Moore. That's Kellen Moore during the week.
Right.
That's Doug Nussmeier during the week. That's teaching Jalen Hurts what to do in these situations and getting him up to speed what to do in every situation. But in the moment, that's the quarterback, and that's the quarterback communicating with the offensive line. That's the quarterback communicating with the receivers and going to the right blitz beater that's already, let me emphasize this, already installed in the offense as a whole. Every offense, including last year's offense. So everything is about the blitz. And Lane talked to me about that this week. It's coming, and we know it's coming, and it's going to keep coming until we prove we can handle it.
No doubt about it. It's going to be on Jalen to pick those up. That's a big job. I think I'm happy that Jalen has put the onus on himself for all this stuff, but it is a big thing, right? Coming into this game, he used to have a Hall of Fame center in Jason Kelsey, who helped with a lot of that at the line of scrimmage. Now he does not. It's going to be interesting to see how Jalen Hurts handles that. And Jeff Hafley, John, is going to bring it tonight. I got a feeling he's going to be a complete opposite type of defensive coordinator than Vic Fangio is. He's just going to bring it.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Jeff Hafley to ascertain. I don't think he's going to be Wink Martindale. But he's probably comfortably in between Vic Fangio and Wink Martindale. But yeah, against and I don't know how the Packers are going to play everybody else, but I do think they're going to be very cognizant of this team really, really struggled with the blitz last year. And for this team, we have to be more aggressive than they probably are going to be against certain other teams.
Yep, no doubt about it. Let's get to our first commercial break. I want to thank everybody for being in here this morning. A big crowd already, everybody. Appreciate all of you guys. JAKIB Nation, we need you guys to show out all day today. We got Birds 365 from 8 to 10 a.m. The National Football Show from 2 to 6 p.m. We'll have the JAKIB pregame show from 7 to 8 p.m. leading into the game tonight. And then the JAKIB postgame show coming out of the game tonight with Dan Cilio, with John McMullen, and with myself. So looking forward to having all of you guys on the channel all day long. We'll be keeping you covered. It's game day, everybody. It's a real football Friday here on Birds 365. So good stuff. I see Ed Kracz, our man Ed Kracz, game day Ed in the green room. So we're going to get to our first commercial break. Birds 365 will be back in 3 minutes with Ed Kracz on the other side.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid
as long as you face the fear.
and keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition, a game day edition of Birds 365, joined now by Game Day Ed Kracz from SI.com. Ed, welcome to the show, man. Great to see you on this Football Friday. We made it, Ed. The season is here.
For all the talking we did about it, it feels like it snuck up. It really did. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's a Friday, but
I think,
happy Game Day Friday to everybody. This is it. This no more dress rehearsals. This is the real deal.
Friday Night Lights, baby. Nick
Lights.
Selling that. He's doing this job down in South America, trying to sell the game to an international audience. But boy, I got to tell you, how many days, Zander, since the
34,
234 since the Eagles lost to Tampa Bay, Ed.
Wow.
And last night, we got to see Kansas City and Baltimore. Typical NFL, in my estimation. A great ending, and everybody forgets about the crap that got you to that ending. Boy, these illegal formation penalties, that's something you got to keep an eye on tonight. What is the NFL doing? What they have 230 days, whatever, and this is what they're worried about?
Yeah, pretty ticky-tacky. And, hey, we saw an offensive pass interference, I think, or two. The Eagles kind of, they were called for a few of those last year with those rub routes. We saw, I think, the Ravens get flagged for 1 or 2 of those. But you're right. I mean, listen, unless it's like an egregious penalty, that roughing the passer penalty on Patrick Mahomes, the hit to the head, that's legitimate. But, some of those other ones, you're right. I mean, come on, just first game. There's going to be some technical errors probably. So, what's wrong with letting, an official look the other way?
Let the players play. Let the players play. That's what everybody's tuning in for. Not to see Ronald Torbert, or whatever his name is tonight, but Ron Torbert. But anyway, that was my – and the Eagles, let's be honest. I mean, Lane and Jordan will – stretch the envelope, so to speak, when it comes to lining up, and they seem to be focused on that. So that's something to keep an eye on before the kickoff. And speaking of the dynamic kickoff, Ed Kracz, bunch of touchbacks. Everybody got to the regular season. They're like, you know what? 5 yards ain't that big of a deal. Let's just kick it out of the end zone.
Yeah, I was surprised at that. I thought we would see a little more pop fly action from the kicker and let them see where they can take the ball back to. But I think it's strategic too. I was watching them thinking, listen, if you're the Chiefs and you're up 10, why not just kick it into the end zone? Let them start at the 30. Don't let them turn the game around with a long kickoff or start midfield, near midfield or something like that. So I think a lot of this will be strategic too. If you have a decent sized lead, say a double-digit lead, you'll probably see it kicked into the end zone more often than not. But yeah, and you know what? I don't like it. The more I watched it last night, I don't like how everything's just at a standstill until someone touches the ball after it's kicked. I like guys flying down the field, looking.
Well, you don't care about people's safety, Ed.
Hey, I did that kickoff coverage duty back in my day, man, and it's just
We all did. Yeah.
Kamikaze, just fly down there and knock somebody on their butt and look for the ball. And I kind of missed that. I didn't think I would, but after watching last night, I wish they would.
Oh, I missed the actual kickoff. That was one of the most exciting plays in football. I mean, it was. And but they legislated it out of the game, and that's what the NFL does. They over-legislate the game. But let's get to the actual game, because there will be plays that decide the winner between the Eagles and Packers. And what are you most excited to see? Offense, defense, Kellen Moore, weapons, Saquon show, Big Fangio, his difference, what he means. What is the first thing you want to see with this particular team?
Well, that's a tough question. I'm looking forward to seeing it all, to be honest. I want to see how this offense operates. I want to see Jalen Hurts, operate within this offense. AJ Brown, Devonta. I mean, listen, I want to see all of it. I really do. And then on defense, it's a young defense. I think it's a good opener for this young defensive line. They're going against a young offensive line for the Packers. They've spent a lot of high draft picks on that side of the ball, the offensive line for the Packers. And it's a young defense, with Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. I'm looking forward to seeing those guys. I want to see Bryce Huff. I want to see Quinyon Mitchell. I guess if you ask me one thing, it'd probably be Quinyon Mitchell, the first round rookie pick. How is he going to assimilate in his first NFL football game? He's going to play a lot. We saw Isaiah Rodgers get ruled out with a hand injury. Yeah. So I think Mitchell's going to start on the outside now in his first pro game.
Leave him there, Ed. That's my advocation.
Yeah.
Don't move him. Leave him.
That's what Fangio would like to do. He would like to leave him in one spot, and maybe this is the start of that. But I guess if you ask me the one thing I'm looking forward to most, it's probably this defense, and in particular on this defense, it's going to be Quinyon Mitchell, because he's the first-round pick, and it's not very often you see a first-round pick for the Eagles start. We saw it with Devonta Smith, obviously, a few years ago. I think he caught the first touchdown pass in that game in Atlanta as a rookie. But, a lot of times you don't see these first-round picks have too big of an impact for the Eagles, and we'll see what Quinyon Mitchell can do. I guess that's probably what I'm looking forward to most.
Yeah, how much does Isaiah Rodgers being out change this for you, Ed, for Vic Fangio? I said to John yesterday, we talked about it yesterday, I think Keely Ringo's a better matchup with these Green Bay receivers, but Isaiah has been the guy who's gotten most of the first-team reps. How much does this change the game plan for Vic coming into the game?
Yeah, I wondered how much time Rodgers was going to see anyway, because this is a big physical group of receivers for the Green Bay Packers. And I got to tell you, I saw when Devonta Smith had his all-star softball game up in the Lehigh Valley in June. I talked to Isaiah at length, but it didn't strike me then how small this guy is until I saw him in the locker room.
Small, man.
He is a little guy. He's short. He's thin. And you would think that bigger receivers would give him trouble. Now, he spent the summer going against A.J. Brown a lot of the time, big physical receiver, and he did okay. But I was concerned just based on his size going into this. So I don't know how much he would have played anyway. Now, Quinyon's Quinyon's a pretty thin guy too, but he looks very athletic. He's a little taller, and maybe he's more physical. He was known as a pretty good tackler at Toledo. So I don't think it might change things for the better, in my opinion. If you were planning on starting Isaiah Rodgers against some of these big guys like Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, I think it would have been a mismatch for the Packers. I think they might have tried to exploit that. So, we'll see. It's a shame he got ruled out with the hand injury. He was telling us in the locker room all week that he was going to play, and then, it comes down to it and he's not playing. So I don't think it changes much. Maybe changes things slightly for the better, because I think Quinyon is better, and let's get this rookie season started.
Yeah, when you talk about the injury, there's no question that Isaiah was dealing with something, because after the initial cut to 53, he missed practice for 2 consecutive days. That sort of like in between period. And then they started the goopy schedule because of Labor Day and the early game. And they had the 3 practices where he was back, but he was limited. And you remember the one day where we can't report the dynamic kickoff because of the strategy implications of the touchback. He was not on the kick return team. I can say that now because he's ruled out, which was a first. It was typically him and Kenny Gainwell, and they took him off of that. I can't tell you who they put on it, but they took him off of that, and evidently that's because of the hand injury. Now, from that standpoint, Devin White was a bit more of a surprise coming out of left field with the ankle injury, and then not even traveling to Brazil. Remember, they took Isaiah to Brazil, and Kobe being the starter. And Kobe won the job and is the starting middle linebacker. Doesn't mean he is forever. If he plays poorly, it'll be opened up. You think there's something more to this Devin White stuff about not going to Brazil?
Yeah, there could be. Sirianni at his press conference there in Brazil yesterday was asked, and he was very dodgy with the answer. He didn't give much at all as to what happened. So there could be something more to it. I mean, remember, this guy was supposed to be one of the leaders of the defense. He was in the text chain with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts.
The accountability chain. Did they drop him from the chain?
I don't know.
Evan White has been removed from the group chat, everybody.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I listen, I was surprised. Okay, all right, he's not going to play, fine, but then to leave him at home. Now, listen, I think when you fly, obviously you're at 36,000 feet for 10 hours, whatever that flight is. And, your ankles and your feet have a tendency to swell, right? So maybe they were concerned that, hey, if we bring him on a plane, that ankle is not going to get any better. It's just going to keep, being swollen, and it might get worse. So maybe from that standpoint, that's why they left him home. But it just seems like a real slap not to bring the guy that, they were using as a starter at the Mike position most of the summer, to not even bring him is a strange turn of events.
Yeah. I did see Devin in the locker room. He was moving kind of well. Guys were, talking about the food that they were giving him to take home. Yeah, I mean, there was nothing noticeable. Not that you can't be injured. Everything's, but typically, if it's a bad ankle sprain, you're going to see a walking boot or something of that nature. We didn't see that. So it is something to keep an eye on. I'll just say that. But on the field, it'll be Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond. If I'm Matt LaFleur, that's who I'm going after. If I'm the Green Bay Packers, that's where you start, right?
Well, absolutely. And Fangio even talked about it, that the play action that the Packers use really puts some stress on the linebackers. You have to kind of read your keys to figure out, are they handing the ball off? Is Jordan Love going to hand the ball off, or is he going to drop back and throw it? So you have to really be kind of, on the game plan if you're a linebacker. And yeah, I would attack them as well. And if Quinion Mitchell's in the game on the outside, I'd go after him too. Let's see what the rookie has. I'd stay away from Slay. And then we'll see who plays in the slot. I mean, if Mitchell stays on the outside all night, you probably put Avonte Maddox in there, I would guess. He's got a good history of playing in the slot. The problem with him is his health. And we could say
healthy,
that
though. I say, why not use him when he's healthy? That's my thought process.
Yeah. And that could be what they do. Cooper DeJean played the slot in the spring, but 3 weeks out of training camp, he missed because of the hamstring. I'm not sure. And Vicky even said that, he's not where he needs to be yet. So I'd be surprised if they put him in there. Maddox makes sense if you want to keep Mitchell on the outside, or you could put Mitchell inside in the slot and put Keely Ringo out on the edge, or, out on the corner, out on the outside, which I think they could do that too. So either way, this Matt LaFleur offense and this offensive coordinator, Adam Stenovich, who's been there a couple of years now, they're going to attack these perceived weak spots for the Eagles. And, I think they'll find out quickly that Nakobe Dean is here to play. I mean, he had a really good summer. You hope he can come out of this healthy, and that's where Devin White comes in. He's a good insurance policy to have if something were to happen to Nakobe. But I think he'll answer some questions tonight for this defense.
Hey, what's your expectation on this Eagles offense coming in? They added Saquon Barkley. They brought in Kellen Moore. A lot of talk about how stale it was at the end of last year. What do you expect to be different tonight, or is it going to be different at all? Just a new play caller in there.
Well, we saw a lot of differences in summer, and listen, we've seen the Eagles do things in summer during camp, and then the season starts and they get away from it. But I don't think that's going to be the case tonight. Kellen Moore showed a lot of motion during the summer. He used a lot of motion, and sometimes that made it hard for the offensive line to hold their stance. I mean, we saw some pre-snap penalties with some of this motion that's going on behind them. So, they're going to have to be aware of what's happening behind them. The offensive line is, so they don't, get called for offsides or motion, whatever. But I think we'll see a lot of it. I think we're going to see Jalen Hurts getting the ball out of his hands quickly. I think we'll see some quick slants to Brown, Smith. I think we'll see Smith in the slot, occasionally. But I think those are going to be the main things. And I think we're going to see Dallas Goedert quite a bit too. I think that, he's going to be utilized over the middle of the field, and you hope that opens up the outside a little bit for some deep shots to Smith or Brown or even Jahan Dotson, depending on how much of a role he'll play. But yeah, I think we'll see some differences just in those things. Now, the blitz, are they able to pick up the blitz? I mean, that's going to be the big key. The Packers are going to come after them because the Eagles didn't solve it last year. That's the big question for me is this Kellen Moore's offense, is this line going to be on the same page with the quarterback? Are they going to be able to identify some of the things that are going to be coming at them? Because that, to me, is going to be key to winning this game, is how they deal with the blitz.
Yeah, I said that before you came on. That's what this whole season's about. Lane, I was talking to Lane last week. He mentioned it. He said, look, we know it's coming. It's coming. And they're going to keep doing it until we prove we can handle it. And I think that's what this whole season is about. Really, how good can this offense be? And they can only be where people want them to be if they can handle the blitz in acceptable fashion. That doesn't mean every time, but in an acceptable fashion. And last year, they didn't do it down the stretch, bottom line. So that, to me, is story number 1, 2, and 3. And then you start talking about all the other stuff. But one name I didn't hear you talk about was, let's get Jeff Kerr excited, our buddy, Saquon. Boy, the hype is ramping up. Let me give you this John Ritchie quote I saw from the former Eagles fullback. I expect if the Packers drop to zones, Saquon will strip flesh cleanly from their bones. You try to run zones, Saquon will destroy you, man. You check it down to Saquon at our -5 yard line, and he might be hitting his head on the other goalpost. John Ritchie. Boy, these people, man, they are raising the expectations.
Yeah.
To sink the poor Saquon Barkley, who I've have predicted, Ed, SI.com/NFL/Eagles, 1,650 total yards, 8 touchdowns, which I think are pretty substantial numbers.
Yeah.
Very good player. I think he went higher than me. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I did.
You're the only one, by the way, that has gone higher than me on this entire program. I ask people that all the time. I was the standard. You beat me. I think you went to 1,700.
Yeah, I think I might have gone to 1,800. I think I had him with 11 touchdowns combined between rushing and receiving. I think, when you look at Jalen Hurts, he was the one that handled it from the 1 and 2 yard line. He would just, push his way in.
By the way, why would you stop that? Jalen Hurts has 28 rushing touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. He is already, Ed, 4th in NFL history for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback. I'm not going away from that.
Yeah, well, they might not, but I think they will. I think Barkley will get some of those touches, and I think Barkley will even touch the ball more inside the 5, and you hope he can score from the 4 or the 5 or the 3.
Well, he's scoring from the -5.
I know.
105 yards away.
I mean, how much of that was, is going to be lost, John, with Jason Kelsey? A lot of those 28 touchdowns for Jalen did come in a tush, but I don't know how many, but
Kelsey was good at it. Let's not poo-poo that. I mean,
Jason Kelsey is great. Don't get me wrong, but it's got more to do with the quarterback that can squat 600 pounds than anybody else.
Kelsey.
Landon Dickerson's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, and we'll see who's at right guard. Probably Becton. He's a big part of it. But Kelsey did some things with the football too. And
he would
he would move the ball a little bit. He would kind of get other teams to kind of flinch. So I don't know if Juergens is as savvy, or if the NFL officials will give Juergens the benefit of the doubt.
Probably won't, by the way,
anything like that. So, listen, if you get called for a motion penalty and you're at the 1 yard line and you're trying to tush push and Juergens moves the ball a little bit like Kelsey did and he gets flagged, then all of a sudden you're in third and, goal at the 6. So, I don't know how much we're going to see of it. And I think if the Eagles don't succeed with it early on, then they're going to get away from it.
Well, I said this when everybody was concerned the NFL was going to ban the tush push. I said, go ahead, ban it. Who cares? But that's just like the window dressing. Like, he's going to get a regular quarterback. He doesn't need the tush push.
Yeah, but how many touchdowns did he have with the tush push? I'm not saying it's going to be gone. I just wonder if it scales back a little bit. And to Ed's point, Saquon gets a couple of those touches in the red zone.
Why would you? I go back to my original point. Why would you want to take away what has been historic?
Oh no, I don't want to take it away. I just wonder if naturally it's going to go backwards a little bit with the loss of a whole.
Well, I'm a big Cam Juergens guy, which I admit. I'm not saying he's Jason Kelsey. You're going to have one of the top 5 offensive lines. Look, I say the guy's going to get 1,650 total yards. He's a very good player, Saquon Barkley. He is not what John Ritchie just described. He is not a great player. The Eagles have a great deep red zone package because of Jalen Hurts. They're not changing that because of Saquon Barkley. That's my opinion. Maybe they do.
I think Saquon opens up the play action too. If you're inside the 5, everybody's going to expect him to get the football. And I think you could see them fake it to him and maybe roll Dallas Goedert out or whoever is out there and throw him a touchdown pass. So I think what we're going to see, Hurts' touchdown passes go up a little bit. What's his career high? 23. I think we're going to see an increase in those numbers, and I think we're going to see a decrease in his touchdowns. And whether that's because of the tush push, they're kind of not going to use that as much, or if it's just because Saquon opens up other avenues in this offense with the play action, and that will allow Hurts to kind of have an extra second to throw the ball to a wide open Goedert. I think Goddard's going to have a good season with touchdown catches. But I think Saquon just opens up the playbook even more, just his presence. With defenses having
I agree. I think his presence is more important than the actual touching of the football.
It's
I
tough.
think it makes it,
I mean, who do you take away?
Yeah, I think it makes it easier for AJ and Devonta, who are your core guys on the offense. But they don't have many problems. And the problems they do have on offense are rich people problems, so to speak. How do you get Jahan Dotson involved? How do you get the football to Dallas Goedert? How do you get the football to Saquon Barkley? How does Kellen Moore get the football and make everybody happy? Those are rich people problems, so to speak. And they're real problems, though, especially if you start losing a little bit. But I think as long as they win games, nobody wants to be that guy, Ed, who complains when you're winning games because you're not touching the football.
That's right. And listen, the only way this offense gets stopped, I think, is if they beat themselves, if they have these penalties, these pre-snaps, some holdings mixed in here and there, and then have to dig themselves out of holes. I mean, I think that's the only way that this offense will be stopped. I like the Packers defense. I think they've done a nice job building it. Jair Alexander on the corner. is a ball hawk, very good cornerback. I like Quay Walker, their linebacker, a Georgia kid that, a lot of these guys have played with the Eagles, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean. They know Quay Walker. They signed Xavier McKinney as a safety there as a free agent. I like him a lot. So that said, I think the Eagles, the only way they lose is if they beat themselves on offense with the penalties, turnovers. Jalen Hurts cannot turn over the football. He had 20 of them last year. Can't do that, obviously. But I think when you look at the talent on this roster, that's the only way they lose is if they beat themselves.
And a lot has been made about Jalen Hurts' health. He looks healthier in camp. He looked quicker. You saw a couple of those videos floating around social media of him, running up the field next to Dallas Goedert, super quick. I'd say there's only one quarterback in the league that's a better dual threat quarterback than Jalen, and that's Lamar Jackson. Last night, he had 16 carries for 122 rushing yards.
He was unbelievable.
Do you think Jalen Hurts is going to rush a lot this year? What's your expectations of him in the rushing game, not just at the goal line? I mean rushing overall this year and then tonight as well.
Yeah, I hope they don't use him much. I really don't. It makes me cringe when you see quarterbacks do what they're doing. And you see Lamar Jackson last night. He's
going to get hurt.
He's going to get
shoulders into people, man.
Yeah, exactly. You got to get out of bounds. You have to protect yourself. I mean, this is game 1 of 17. If he keeps doing that, he's not going to make it through. So I really hope that Jalen Hurts doesn't have to carry the load. Now, listen, that doesn't mean they're going to take his legs away completely. They'll and we've seen design running plays for him in camp, so we'll see some of it. But to me, it's just another way to get hurt if you're a quarterback, if you're carrying the ball 16 times like Lamar Jackson is. There's no way Jalen Hurts is going to carry the ball 16 times tonight. No. I would like to see maybe five rushes, and that includes scramble plays when a play breaks down. But again, now we talk about Saquon Barkley. There's your outlet receiver. If the play breaks down and you're on your third progression and it's Saquon Barkley in the flat, throw him the ball. Don't try to do too much with your legs this year. So I hope that we don't see Jalen Hurts, have this big role in the rushing game like he has in the past. He's good as a changeup, calling the play at the right time, a quarterback draw or a quarterback sweep to the outside. But let's not do it more than 5-6 times a game, please.
If there, is a problem with the offense, it is right guard where it's going to be Mekhi Becton, although that's not official yet.
No.
As the Eagles try to get that competitive advantage, but it's going to be Mekhi Becton. Boy, I don't know, man. Maybe the best defensive player on the Green Bay Packers is Kenny Clark. For those who don't know, really good defensive tackle who's going to be lined up, I imagine, more often than not on Mekhi Becton. And Mekhi's a tackle, and he looks like a tackle. He was drafted number 11 overall to be a tackle. He's the biggest guard I've ever seen in my life, where it's about leverage and low man wins. And you got Kenny Clark on the other side. Is that going to be an issue?
Yeah, sure. I think that could be an issue. I think you could see some double teaming with Kenny Clark, whether he's lined up on Mekhi and then you bring Juergens over to help or the tackle over to help. But, we could see him on Juergens too. Jason Kelce struggled with these big oversized tackles as well. I mean, he had a hard time moving them. Everybody does. So I could see him over Juergens as well. As listen, the Packers know, hey, he's making his first start at center in the NFL. Let's test him. Let's put Big Kenny over him and let him push him backwards in the pass game, because I wonder if Juergens can anchor. We saw some one-on-one drills where sometimes he did it, sometimes he didn't. So I would line him up over both those guys. Mix and match. Becton's playing guard for the first time. Juergens making his first start at center. Yeah, that could be an issue for sure if they don't figure out how to get him blocked.
Ed, the one weak spot on that Packers offense, I think, is obviously their offensive line. I don't think it's too weak, but I do think it's their weakest point. What's your expectation for the Eagles D-line, namely Bryce Huff as the big offseason signing? What do you think he's able to do tonight, and will he be able to disrupt the game in Brazil?
Well, let's hope so, because I'm not sure that you're right. I think the Packers O-line has some questions. I mean, like I alluded to earlier, they have a lot of high draft picks on that offensive line, but it's young, and so is this Eagles defensive line, obviously. So I like the matchup, but when you put Bryce Huff out there against, I don't know who's going to be playing on the outside tackle there, Josh Myers maybe, or I'm not sure who's
Is it Elton Jenkins?
No, Jenkins is their best. It's Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom, I believe, are their tackles.
And I think those guys were drafted in the first, maybe round 2 or round 3, so and not that long ago. So they're pretty young guys, and I think it's a good matchup for Huff. I mean, he should be able to impact the game as a pass rusher. Now, Jordan Love does get the ball out quick. And you're going to hear it if the Eagles have 1 sack or no sacks, is how quickly he got the ball out. So, you may have to get a little more creative if you're Vic Fangio to put pressure on Jordan Love, maybe disguise a few things. Maybe instead of bringing Huff all the time, drop him into coverage a couple times and, disguise where he's coming from. But he should have a big game. I mean, this is the kind of game, he's going to have harder tests ahead with some of these tackles that he's going to go against. But against the Packers, I think it is, an area you can explore and try to get him free and have him make an impact.
At Kracz, make sure you follow Ed on the X platform, which you can do in this country if you're in Brazil. Wait till you leave Brazil, and maybe you can follow Ed on X.com. Read them at si.com/NFL/Eagles. Can read me there as well. If there's going to be one surprise from a personnel standpoint, Patrick Johnson having a bigger role. My guy, Kenny Gainwell, having a bigger role. Maybe Jahan Dotson getting thrown into the fire. I think there's a chance Cooper DeJean plays a little bit more. I think Vic might have been throwing us a curveball because he likes to blitz his slot corners on those run blitzes, and Cooper did that pretty well. If there's one surprise from a personnel standpoint, and I think already people got surprised by Devin White, although we didn't. And to a certain degree, Isaiah Rodgers. If there is one more, where is it going to be?
Well, I think Nolan Smith is someone you didn't mention, and I think he's going to kind of be the guy that I think they're going to use him a lot. I know Fangio hasn't seemed too impressed with him in the times we've talked to him. He's not really throwing flowers at Nolan Smith. So, maybe this lights a fire under Nolan Smith. I think he did that with Nakobe Dean, kind of downplayed what Dean was able to do. And, we all saw that he loved Dean, and now Dean's starting. But I think Nolan Smith to me would be a big surprise. He could surprise tonight. Again, he's very quick off the edge. He's going to test you with his speed coming around the corner. So he would be a big surprise. You mentioned Patrick Johnson. Yeah, I could see him being a surprise as the season goes on, and maybe it is tonight. But Nolan Smith is the guy that he's got to come out and he has to show what he can do. Again, against this offensive line, like Zander talked about, it can be exploited, and I think Nolan Smith needs to come out and surprise us and maybe get a sack, maybe get 2 sacks. Put pressure on Jordan Love.
That would excite people.
He's got the speed. You can't win this game with bull rushing Jordan Love because he's going to get the ball out quickly. You need to have that speed around the edge to force him to step up inside where you hope Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are ready to bring him down.
John, anything?
I thought you were jumping in.
No,
yeah, I can say it. But at Kracz, as I mentioned, on X.com, make sure you follow Ed there. Prediction time. Let's go. Who you picking?
Yeah, well, I mean, John and I just put up our NFL predictions. You might want to check that over at si.com. We have our division winners, our wild cards, our Super Bowl pick, our MVP, all the stuff, offensive, defensive players of the year. I think you'll see some surprises there from John, who we picked to be his defensive rookie of the year. I
like to go bold. I'm bored of Kansas City. Come on, that's easy. I'm bored with it. I like to go bold.
I like to take a few big swings too. So yeah, check that out. It's NFL predictions. But yeah, my prediction for tonight against the Packers, I think the Eagles find a way to win this game. I think they're gonna. I think this offense is going to come out clicking. Now, my concern is we didn't see a lot of deep shots in the preseason. We didn't see a lot of it in training camp. I don't know how many explosive plays we're going to see tonight. I think Kellen Moore kind of wants to, play it safe and get the ball out quick and take
Dink
what's
the dunk,
there.
baby. Dink.
Yeah, I hate to use that term. I really hate to use it because it just sounds so boring and so basic.
Oh, people are going to be upset when they see it. If they see it.
So I thought the Eagles would hang 30 on them, but now I'm looking at the offense and I think, more maybe like 24 to 27 points. But I think this defense will play better than what maybe people think it will. And I think the Eagles find a way to win this game, something like 27-20. Kind of like last night's score, I guess. I think we could see another 27-20 game. Eagles win.
I like it, Ed Kracz. Good stuff. Our first Eagles prediction win. So good stuff, Ed Kracz. Thanks for being here today, man. Enjoy the game. Tonight we'll be following your work all weekend long. I'm sure you guys are going to put up some great articles on SI.com, both you and Johnny Mac. So we'll be following along. Ed, thanks for being here today, man, on this game day Friday.
Thanks, guys. Happy Football Friday.
All right,
thanks, Ed.
There's Ed Kracz joining us on Birds 365. Great stuff from Ed Kracz. As always, we got a full hour to go. I got a super chat, John. We'll hit after the break. We got a new member, Zach Lambert. Zach, thank you for becoming a member, man. You're officially a part of JAKIB Sports' community now, and that means you're officially entered for a Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway if he goes over 125. John, before the break, will we be giving away a Saquon Barkley jersey next week?
According to everybody, yes. Yeah. Well, according to me, no, probably not. But
I would love to start strong. I would love to give away a jersey.
I think you're going to get close, but I think you're going to fall just short. But hopefully, hey, if they got a big lead late, you got a better opportunity.
So if you want to become a member now, become a member on the channel. It does support the work you got or the content you guys are watching. So it does go a long way in helping. We are nothing without our community. So we appreciate all of you guys for being here. Zach, thank you for becoming a member, man. For anybody else who wants to become a member, you can do so by heading over to the channel page and clicking join and then becoming a member. It's $4.99 a month. So a cup of coffee a month around there, maybe an expensive cup of coffee a month. But we appreciate the support. Let's get to our next commercial break. Thought that was great stuff from Ed Kracz there. We'll come back and we got an hour to go to preview this Eagles versus Packers opening game in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Stay tuned, everybody. Hit that like button. We'll be right back.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wow.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365, a game day Football Friday here on Birds 365. Eagles kick off tonight, everybody. The anticipation, the excitement, everybody is jacked up. Johnny Mac in the chat. I know you're fired up. The season is here. We got a 157-day run. I guess it's 156 now after yesterday to the end of the season, to the Super Bowl. So it goes by quick. I would urge everybody in the chat to enjoy each day of the season because we had a long off season, 230-something days or whatever it was since we lost to the Bucs in the playoffs last year. So enjoy each day. We got 150 plus of them, and I would urge you all to revel in the moment and appreciate the moment. I think the Eagles are going to have a big year this year. Johnny Mac, let's get to our first super chat of the day. We do have an hour, so anybody who drops a super chat here in this last hour as we preview the game, I will be happy to bring them up and get John's response to them. I know plenty of you have great questions for John as we head into the Eagles' first game tonight versus the Packers. So let's go to James Carver, our man in the chat. James Carver with a 20-bucker. James, thank you, man. We appreciate your support as always. James Carver says, I'm most worried about Q playing nickel with the simultaneous backside run fit and pass pro with the motion of their tight ends pre-snap and backs flats often going backside against flow with a 7-over to force commitment early. John?
Yeah, James getting technical. I liked it early.
Yeah.
Now, run fits are a big part of playing nickel. That's why Vic dismisses people that call it not a different position. And he calls corner outside corner. He calls corner. And obviously inside, and he explains it, you're essentially a glorified linebacker. And that's why I don't understand why Devonta Maddox is not penciled in as the starter. I didn't understand it before Isaiah Rodgers' injury. And I don't understand it now. And maybe when they kick it off and you see the Eagles defense for the first time, maybe it's because you will see Devonta Maddox in the slot. I think there's still a possibility of that. But Vic has said 100% Quignon's going to be on the field for all 3 downs if healthy. So that means he's either playing outside and moving inside, which he did throughout the preseason, or he's just going to leave him outside, which I think is the better way to go about it. And, yeah, my biggest issue is the run fits, and that isn't easy. And I'm sure – I don't know what to make of Josh Jacobs. I see some people in the chat saying I hate Saquon again. Again, 1,650 yards. Nobody went higher. Ed went higher. It took everybody till Ed to go higher. I asked multiple people on the show, Zander, nobody went higher. So if I'm the hater, I just don't blow smoke up your ass like John Ritchie.
I think I was under that. What did I have, John? I had like 11 or 12.
You were like 1,400. Yeah, everybody's under it. But I'm the hater. But in the case of Josh Jacobs, very similar. Like, I don't know how much Josh Jacobs has left, but if he's got anything left, and you got Quinyon Mitchell in the slot, I would try to take advantage of that if I were Matt LaFleur. Yeah, I don't. It's one of the reasons why I don't want him in the slot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll see what they end up doing at the cornerback position. Obviously, with the news coming down yesterday, Isaiah Rodgers will miss the game tonight. So we will see what they end up doing with the cornerback position. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. John, how's this defense going to try and contain Jordan Love? This is a high-powered offense. I think some people are putting them or just dismissive of them a little bit much more so.
Wow, Eagles
Well, I
fans?
don't know. I just think people are like, they had 1 year, they had a half a season, they won 9 games.
I
but you're
love
not that
also.
good.
I got my first. I know this is when I'm doing my job correctly. I got the Johnson Packers fan, which is so funny to me for this reason. I covered the Vikings for years, so Packers fans think I hate the Packers. So I love it when people say,
Where'd you get that? Twitter?
No, somebody did it in the chat. So to me, it's funny. And no, it's a very good offense. Now I do think, maybe there's some skipping of steps because very similar to what happened last year to the Eagles happened opposite to the Packers. The Packers didn't play well early last season. And they weren't even going to make the playoffs until Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles. I mean, they weren't going to make the playoffs if Kirk Cousins was healthy. So they only won 9 games, but they played very well. And all people remember is down the stretch, and all people remember is how they beat up the Cowboys in the playoffs and then almost took the 49ers to the brink. And they played very well. So that was the last sort of remembrance that people had about the Packers, and they looked really, really good, really young, but they're still young. And, I talk about it all the time. You just went through it as an Eagles fan, Jalen Hurts. People adjust, and they tend to adjust in the off season. And everybody's got tape of what Jordan Love was doing well at the end of last season, including Vic Fangio. And they're going to do some different things. And he, as a young quarterback, will have to adjust to those things. How quickly those adjustments come will be determined. There's Josh Jacobs, as I said. One of the same problems I had with Saquon Barkley, I had with Josh Jacobs. A hell of a lot of touches coming off a really bad season. That tends not to turn around for guys that have a ton of touches on their resume. And then the receivers are all dynamic, but they're not well-rounded like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Just a bunch of big athletic guys who can make plays with their athleticism. And Jaden Reed's probably their best receiver, I would say. He's the one who's normal size, shall we say, but he's probably their best receiver. The tight ends are good, but they're young. And the offensive line, a lot of questions. So there's a lot of questions with this Packers team, but the upside is there. Definitely there.
Yeah, no doubt, John. Let's go. We got a couple more super chats. Thanks, everybody in the chat for your super chats and for your support of the channel, John. Let's talk about him, man. We got a super on him. Let's talk about him, what your expectation is of him tonight. I know you kind of already tipped your hat a little bit. Suo Blaze checks in. Appreciate you being here, Suo, and for your support of the channel. Hot take, Saquon plus 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns tonight. Go Birds. Suo's got high expectations. Suo's expecting a jersey to be given away on JAKIB. Now, Suo, you're not a member, so you won't be able to win it. But hopefully we'll give one away to a member. John, what do you think of Saquon tonight and what he might be able to do?
Yeah, I mean, if the Eagles are up 10 in the fourth quarter, I think you got a better chance of him hitting that 100 mark. But he's going to get his opportunities. I think, one big run gets you there. I mean, Richie's got him going 105 yards, I guess, in the passing game. So that'll get you to the jersey if you join. If you join and become a member. Yeah, he's going to be effective. Probably about 80 rushing yards, 30 receiving is where I got him.
Not bad, not bad. So we'll see what Saquon can do tonight. I think Saquon has a quieter start tonight. I hate to say it, but my gut
look at the
feeling-
hater.
Well, no, I just think that this team wants him to play his best football after Thanksgiving. I think they, as much as they did.
There's
give
no
him the
such
big-
thing. I used to have this discussion with Jody all the time. There's no load management in football.
No, I'm not saying it's load management, but I think the team is cognizant of how many touches he's had, and they're not just going to come out and give him 30 touches in the
Well, they're not giving. I don't think he'll hit 30 touches all year. If I had to bet US on that, I would say no.
I'd say 12 to 15 touches for Saquon tonight.
I think that would upset people. It wouldn't surprise me.
It would definitely upset people. But look, that's just my feeling. I don't know if it's going to happen. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Like I said, I would love to give away a jersey this week. I would absolutely love it. But I think it's going to be a little slower for him. I think it's going to ramp up a little slower. And I think defenses are going to know that, he's the flashy toy. So I think they're going to try and game plan him out of the game a little bit.
They're not game planning. That's the beauty of this whole situation. There is no way. I don't know Jeff Hapley from Adam, but there is no way he is looking at this Eagles offense and starting with Saquon Barkley. That's the whole Howie Roseman thought process when it comes to signing. Like everybody game planned for Saquon Barkley when he's with the Giants because they don't have anything else, or they didn't have anything else, or not much else. Throughout most of his time there, not all of his time, but most of his time here. I mean, you got AJ Brown to deal with, and Devonta Smith, and Jalen Hurts, and everybody else. There is no way he is game planning for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, well, so we'll see what ends up happening tonight. Appreciate your super chat, Suo Blaze. Barbara Cara says, what color jersey will you be giving out? Barbara, I said I would give away the jersey of whatever game they wore if he goes over 125. So that would technically be white this week. But if the winner reaches out and says they want a Kelly green or a midnight green, I will happily oblige and give them whatever color they want. I want them to enjoy their jersey, obviously, and wear it as much as possible. So whatever color the people wants, but we will default to the jersey that they wear in the game. So that would be a white jersey tonight. A couple more super chats coming in. Appreciate everybody being here. Abe says, Jair Alexander has been good and mediocre the past 4 seasons. In 2020, 90.7 grade, number 1 corner. In 21, 73.4 grade. In 22, 80.3, number 8 corner. And in 23, 76.9, the number 22nd ranked corner. That's good stats right there.
By the way, that ain't mediocre. But
well, I mean, you could argue that that 22nd ranked in the league from a grading standpoint is not elite. That's all.
It's pretty elite. I mean,
there's 32 teams.
I think, there's 32 teams, 64 starters.
Yeah, right.
You're in the top third of starters in the NFL is not mediocre. Now, it might not be great when you're number 1.
Yeah, it's not elite. It's not mediocre, I would agree, but it's good.
But that was my issue with the mediocre.
Yeah, okay.
Corners in this league are a lot like relief pitchers in baseball. You have big years, you have down years. I'm very honest about this. AJ's my guy when it comes to cornerbacks in the NFL. And I listen to him. I'll be perfectly blunt about it.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
He thinks he's really freaking good. I've seen Jair play for years, and he is really good as a press cover corner when he's healthy, and he's had a lot of injury issues over the years. But yeah, I would not call him mediocre by any stretch of the imagination.
You think AJ Brown has his way against him tonight?
Yeah, I know the Eagles like AJ against anybody.
Well, yeah, I would.
They don't think they have to adjust. There's a couple players they don't think they have to adjust for, no matter who the opposition is. AJ's one of them. Lane's one of them. Trying to think if there's anybody else. Probably there's nobody else, to be honest. So they never adjust for AJ Brown. They never think they go into a game and somebody's going to shut down A.J. Brown. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Just mean that they don't concern themselves with that.
Good stuff there. Abe, thank you for the super chat, man. We appreciate everybody in the chat right now checking in and giving us their thoughts on the game tonight. It's an exciting time right now, man. We've been talking about this team all off season long, and the game is finally here. Let's go to our next super chat. James Carver checks in. I think James said he had a spelling error in here. James, I don't know how to find where you corrected it. Sorry, brother. He says, J-Mac, with all their motion and flooding fronts with backs last year, looking like attempts at copying CMC backside. So you see us running much 5-man fronts, and if so, then won't that require edge dropping?
No, I mean, I expect him to be in the 5-man front and early downs. You have 1st and 10 if it's a tackle for loss. 2nd and 12, you're going to go immediately to nickel. So the 50 front's about shutting down the running game. So if they shut that down, and Vic has said he expects to be in nickel most of this game, and that's just the way the Packers play. But he did mention it on early downs when he corrected me. They play about 50-50, 11 versus 12 personnel when they're trying to get the running game going. So if there's 12 on the field and it looks like a situation where they need some help, and that also depends on the linebackers, and that also depends on, can they handle the running game with a 4-man front? Because when they can't, that's generally when they throw out the 50 a little bit more to try to control the gaps a little bit better. So that brings the linebackers and Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond as well. I'm very interested to see how they use Zach Bond in this game. If it's just
me too,
run-in-the-mill weak side linebacker, if it's more like they use Van Ginkel in Miami. Vic used Van Ginkel.
I think it's going to be like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he can do that, and that could be a problem. That position is what I'm trying to say.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. 2 new members joining in, and a couple more super chats to hit. Gerald Ford, appreciate you, Gerald, for being here.
Gerald Ford, former president, joining.
Yeah, I like that. Probably another fake name. That's all right, though. We appreciate you being a member. Appreciate you being in here on JAKIB Sports. You're officially entered into the giveaway, and more importantly, you're supporting the channel that we try and give you guys as much Eagles content as humanly possible. And you guys go a long way in helping support that content. So thank you all so much. And then Suo Blaze, who just dropped in. The Saquon Super Chat has become a member. Suo, appreciate it, man. We appreciate you being here. Appreciate your membership. I did just pin the comment in the chat for anybody that wants to become a member here before we kick off. It's support of the channel. You get access to our emojis and all sorts of other fun stuff in the chat. And then also you're entered into our Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway, as I mentioned many times. So thank you both for becoming a member, both Suo and Gerald Ford. Appreciate you guys for being here. Johnny Mac, let's get to our next super chat. Dirty Air checks in $5. Do you guys think that the Devin White saga could lead to some locker room issues? Seems like Tampa all over again for him. Could see him pouting about it. Dirty, I'm kind of with you on this. Johnny Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. Devin is a good guy. I don't see him being that way, and I don't think that was an issue in Tampa, a locker room issue, more than it was just like I said, Todd Bowles has tremendous respect for Devin White as a person, still checks in on him, still wants to keep up with him, vice versa as well. Devin speaks very highly about Todd Bowles. Just didn't work out on the field from a perspective of how he performed on the field. So I'm not in Tampa, but I didn't sense there was a huge locker room rift more than he just didn't perform. And now that he's here and you went through a summer where he thought he was going to be the starter, and now he's not a starter. Is he disappointed? I'm sure he's disappointed. But when he signed the contract, I tried to warn everybody. I mean,
yeah, you did, John.
I mean, it's easy to move on from that. If he didn't perform, and it was a dart to throw at the dartboard, and it's probably not going to work, and it's not the end of the world. But I don't. He doesn't strike me as a bad locker room guy at all.
You did hear a couple some rumblings though coming out of Tampa about that, wasn't it? Wasn't there?
I didn't hear any. I
thought he was upset about the contract and he wanted the new deal.
Well, he wanted a new deal, and
right, but that doesn't make him a bad locker room guy.
No, and maybe he's unrealistic about that. I would agree with, because there was no way he was getting a massive deal after his performance. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to contracts, that to me is that, like, Hassan Reddick is. People tend to get portrayed very poorly when they hold out or they do what Hassan's doing. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Just thinks he's been underpaid for years, and he's right. But from his standpoint, they're not gonna at his age and with the tread off his tires, they're not going to do a 180. So it might not be fair. So you have two decisions to make. Do you want to play for what they will give you, or do you want to go the way Hassan has been going so far? So doesn't make him a bad guy.
NFC East Clips checks in and says, did your reporter say he was bad at practice? What happened? NFC East, you must be new to the show, because Johnny Mac has been talking about Nakobe being the best player, best linebacker on the team for about a month now.
Also, my pet peeve of mine, because I report something, and I'm on this show every day, and Zander can tell you, whatever, everything's archived. I've been saying it for a long time. That doesn't mean every reporter does the same thing I do.
Right.
This assumption that everybody does it's not remotely like that. And I can only speak to myself, and I got plenty of backup, because anybody can go to the YouTube channel. I've been telling you, Nakobe's been the best linebacker on this team for weeks. I've been telling you even before he took off that should be the end game, to get Nakobe on the field. And I've been telling you since day one that the Eagles signed Devin White, he has not lived up to the hype of being the number 5 overall pick ever. Even when he was named an All-Pro because he had 9 sacks, the second team All-Pro. That was shitty voting, to be honest. So
we'll see what Devin can do this year. Good stuff. Appreciate the super chat there from Dirty Air. Johnny Mac, one more super chat to get to, and then I got a good question for you in preview of this game tonight. What are we? Just 10 hours and 30 minutes out from this game. I can't believe it.
It's going to be a long day.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited, man. I'm jacked up. I was saying to John last night,
that
game went too late for me, man. I'm getting up early in the morning. Me and my family are doing this challenge called 75 Hard. For anybody who knows what that is, it's like 75 days of full discipline, you could call it, with 2 workouts a day and all sorts of stuff. So I said to John, I passed out on the couch last night. I had to catch the highlights this morning. But Nick Marchetti checks in, Johnny Mac, and says, I expect Devonta to have a big game. Nick, I'm with you. John, what do you expect Devonta to do tonight in this new Kellen Moore offense up against the Packers?
Well, everybody can't have a big game. What was it? What was it? The Detroit game a couple years ago where AJ had all the catches and Devonta had 0, and that was
I think it was one of the first games of the year last year.
It was the first game.
Yeah, the first game. Right.
I think it was the Detroit game, but I'd have to look. And boy, that was a narrative for 1 week. And then I think the first play of the next game was to Devonta, and He obviously had a career high in receiving yards that year, and everything was fine. So everybody can't have a big game. Who are they going to game plan for? Devonta, I will say this, has been used in the slot a heck of a lot more with Kellen Moore. So I think there's a chance he's got a big game. And there's always a chance Devonta Smith has a big game. But I wouldn't, jump off buildings if he doesn't, isn't the number one target guy in week one. Could be him, could be AJ. And that's in pretty good position to be in, because I don't like, if when you talk about just targets, it's going to be AJ or Devonta as number one.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. So we'll see what Devonta does. Nick, appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you for doing that. Got a couple more coming in. We appreciate all you guys for your support today on the show. I know everybody's jacked up for the game tonight. I certainly am jacked up for the game tonight. I almost didn't sleep last night, John. It's like Christmas Eve for me with everything. I'm also excited. There's a little bit of nerves that run through you when, I'm in a bigger, obviously more expanded role this year, which is pretty cool. I'm excited to do it, but obviously a little bit of nervous coming into the year. So I'm excited for this thing to get started and get rolling. Philly Don checks in. Philly Don, one of our members. Appreciate you being here, Philly Don. John. Barkley, 150 total yards, 70 to 75 on the ground. Predictions. Predictions will come at the end of the show, Don.
Well, I already gave my Barkley prediction. I'll say this: if he gets to 150, it ain't with 70 to 75 rushing yards.
Yeah, that's too many.
I mean, it's gonna be a 125 probably rushing if he gets to 150. Yeah, I got him at about 80 rushing, 30 receiving, somewhere in that range.
John's got him falling just short of the giveaway.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if he gets a 105-yard reception, like John Ritchie says, you'll be in good shape. You'll be in good shape.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's go to Suplex City. What's up, Suplex? Appreciate you being here. Another channel member checking in. Appreciate all of our channel members. Suplex City says, good morning, gents. On White, he was not Levante David's favorite teammate. John RIP. Should Sid Udy been a left tackle at 6'8", 320?
Sid, Psycho Sid, for people that don't know, who just passed away. Rest in peace. Yeah, big softball player. No, Sid had some issues with his fibula, so I don't think he could have been a left tackle. Although he's a first guy off the bus guy. You just show him and his physique and scare the other team. But yeah, he was a famous wrestler who recently passed away. Better known as Psycho Sid.
Rest in peace to Psycho Sid. Appreciate the super chat, Suplex City. And one more, Abe says, Huff had 10 sacks on third down plays is pretty good. I think Huff could have a big night tonight. I think it's a mismatch with this Green Bay offensive line. And I think Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are going to open up a lot of lanes on the outside for him to get to the quarterback. Johnny Mac, what do you think Huff does tonight? I already asked you, but we'll follow up with the super chat here from Abe.
I think, this is a game for Bryce Huff to shine. There's another player I'm very interested in, because I do think that, some of the disappointment with him in training camp has to deal. I don't think people put the context that he's working against Lane Johnson a lot of the time, and Hassan Reddick used to have the same issues. And, all of a sudden you get to some average NFL tackles, and that's what I think he's getting tonight. And you got to take advantage of that. And we'll see if he's able to do it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do it, if he doesn't have a good game, I think that's going to be a talking point afterward, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with that. Looking forward to the game tonight, John. I want to ask you about Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean tonight is set to start at that Mike position after Devin White was ruled out, did not travel with the team down to Sao Paulo, Brazil. How much pressure is on Nakobe Dean coming into the game tonight?
Quite a bit, I would think.
A lot. I think a lot, John.
But he's locked in, man. I think he's ready to go. I think he's going to have a good season. I think he's going to be a really good player. he's got to stay healthy. I think that's the most important part. But he's sort of remade his upper body, as I mentioned. He's very physical. He's got the same instincts. And we'll see, because I mean, if people saw the Kansas City Baltimore game, and I know you fell asleep, again, I've been talking about it. Andy Reid went after Roquan Smith immediately, early in the game, pretty consistently. And that's one of the 2 or 3 best linebackers in football, because it's a mismatch when you get playmakers on those guys. So those who are expecting linebackers to be some kind of weird mythical creatures that can run with running backs and wide receivers, there were a couple times Baltimore left him on Rashee Rice in the slot playing, zone defenses, and it looked like a freaking disaster. So if you temper your expectations, I think he will have a good season. If you expect him, but so many people, and this, Zander, thought TJ Edwards was a bad linebacker for the Eagles at the end of his career. Astonishing amount. And if you didn't recognize TJ was good, you're probably not going to recognize any linebackers being good in the current incarnation of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it's just an uphill battle for linebackers in today's day and age to be good in coverage. I mean, so look, I think Nakobe's going to have a good night tonight. Hopefully he has a good night. I think this team is counting on him, to be that guy, and hopefully he can step up, rise up to the occasion. Our Nakobe super fan is in the chat, Johnny McDaz. He just put in something. He says, me and Johnny are like this on Dean. I love it, Daz. Appreciate you being here, brother. One more super chat, John. This is from our man, Mark. I know you remember Mark from last week, John. He is in Sao Paulo.
Nice.
So he checks in from Sao Paulo. He says, super excited to attend the game tonight. Found out it got quite chilly here in Sao Paulo last night, and the game starts here at 9 p.m. local. The air quality is no worse than LA, and walking around town was uneventful for me. Mark Valor, appreciate you being here, brother. Appreciate the super chat. Great to know you're down there. You're safe and sound, and you're attending the game tonight. Mark, thanks for being here. Johnny Mac, any comment back to Mark, who's down there in Sao Paulo, Brazil?
Yeah, Zach Berman was down there. Was telling me it was going to be in the 50s probably on game day, at least at night. So it is going to be probably, I guess, Mark confirming it's going to be a little bit chillier than I think people would assume.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to affect the game much. Yeah, and I'm glad people are having fun. I thought the concern over Brazil was way overblown. I mean, you can go to any city in America and you should be aware of your surroundings at all times. So as far as the concerns over the security and that kind of thing, I think a lot of people just have anxiety when they travel. I know I do. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And then if you're leaving the country, it just amps up the anxiety. So I think most of it had to do with that. But everything I get from the people down there, from the people I've been talking to that are down there, it's a nice place, and the people are nice, and everybody's having fun.
Are you well traveled, Johnny Mac? Outside, I know you travel all over the damn country for the NFL, but outside the country,
I've been to London a few times. Canada, Mexico. Really nowhere else. I've always wanted
I've only
to go.
been to Canada. My whole family's been to Italy. I'm left out. I've only been to Canada, and it's when I was like 10 years old for a hockey trip back when I played hockey, and we went up to I think it was Toronto, and we went up.
Yeah, I would like to go to Japan.
I've
always wanted to go to Japan because we had a wrestling fan. It's a big wrestling country, so part of it has to do with I'm a weirdo about that. But Australia, I would like to go to. Wouldn't like the flights though on these two particular trips. The problem is I don't want to go. I don't like the traveling. I'd love to go to all over Europe, but I don't like the traveling aspect to get to it.
Yeah, I hear you. Look at this, Joe Whip. I've been to all 7 continents. Joe Whip, I love it, brother. Good stuff.
And
Appreciate
he's
you.
mindful of his surroundings.
Yes, he
which
is. I am
exactly
always,
that's all. I mean,
yeah.
you have to be mindful of your surroundings. That's my whole point. You can
I'm
go
mindful of my surroundings here in right outside the city of Philadelphia.
well, exactly. I mean, if anybody is coming to Philadelphia, I'm gonna, and they ask my advice, I'm gonna steer them away from certain places. And you have to, and that's any city. You saw what happened to, unfortunately, Ricky Pearsall in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're living in that society right now, and you have to be mindful of your surroundings anywhere. And Brazil's no different than Philadelphia.
Yep, no doubt about it, Johnny Mac. Good stuff there. We're going to get to a commercial break, and then we have one more segment, everybody, to preview this game. I'm going to let Johnny Mac kind of take it, what he's looking at. I want to ask him, though, about Jalen Carter, so we'll do that after the break. And then Johnny Mac's prediction. Everybody's been waiting for your prediction, Johnny Mac. I'm going to give my prediction, but nobody cares.
I'm a Packers fan, so that should give it away.
John is not a Packers fan. He is being facetious when he says that. Appreciate everybody being here in the chat. Great stuff as always. Love all you guys, man, with the super chats, the memberships, and just great commentary as always. Make sure you guys hit that like button, as it really does help our channel grow. So if you enjoy the content, hit it. If you don't, that's okay. You don't have to hit it, but I appreciate if you do hit it. We're going to take a commercial break. Birds 365 will be back in 3 with Johnny Mac's much anticipated Game 1 prediction for Eagles versus Packers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Back in 3.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today, and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a game day edition of Birds 365. The Eagles are set to kick off their season, their 2024 season, tonight in Sao Paulo, Brazil, versus the Green Bay Packers. Just 17 minutes left to go here on Birds 365. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. We had a great crowd. As always, you guys are the best in the chat, so thank you for making this a very fun preview show of the game. Johnny Mac, I asked you all these questions. Where's your mind going into the game? When you think about the game tonight, what are you watching for? I know you said the blitz, but where is Johnny Mac's mind coming into the game tonight?
Yeah, I want to see how Vic utilizes people. Zach Bond is very interesting to me. What he's going to do without Isaiah Rodgers is very interesting to me. Is he going to use Cooper DeJean in certain packages? Because Vic is interesting to me. So the little details of what he does. Offensively, I already mentioned it's about the blitz. I don't even care about the motion and the bunch formation. I know that's coming. That's what Kellen likes. He likes it, so he's going to use it. That to me is the white noise. How have they prepared Jalen Hurts to pick up the blitz? That's why Kellen Moore is here. That's why Doug Nussmeier is here. And that's mission number one for that offense. And then the other kind of stuff where we talk so much about Saquon love or hate. Is Devonta going to get the touches? Is AJ going to get the touches? That'll all work itself out. If they can't handle the blitz, they're not going to be able to go where they want to go. And that's to be a significant Super Bowl contender. So to me, it all boils down to that on the offensive side. And then all the other stuff is just the trimming and everything else and the furniture and everything else you buy for the house. But you need the foundation first. And everybody knows they struggled with picking up the blitz, and that's where everybody's going to try to attack the Philadelphia Eagles until they prove they can deal with it. Everybody knows it, and they need to prove it.
How much of a role does Kellen Moore have in preparing Jalen Hurts to kind of manage that and to handle the blitz?
Everything. That's his job. That was the lead bullet point in the job description. Fix this. He's a former quarterback, longtime offensive coordinator now, even though he's a young guy. He understands what you need to do. Can you teach it? Can you teach it? Can you impart it to your student? And that's, the difference between Vic Fangio and all of his underlings and all of his copycats. He teaches it better. Can Kellen Moore teach it better to Jalen Hurts?
And then past teaching it, John, what do you expect him to do in terms of, play design tonight to help mitigate it? Is it just as simple as short slant routes or easier outs for Jalen to get that ball out quickly?
Yeah, I mean, there's no design. There's no play design when it comes to hot routes. They're in the offense. They're in the offense. They're adjustments to what you see coming from the defense. And they're generally quick passes. Unfortunately, the Eagles' answers last year were too many bubble screens. Just get the ball out quickly in that manner. The successful teams, the Tom Brady's, Peyton Manning's of the world, Phillip Rivers of the world, will use him for Nick's purposes. They identify where the blitz is coming. More often than not, they're going to throw right at it, right behind where the blitz is coming. But you have to get everybody on the same page. You got to get the protection ready to pick up the slide, to pick up the blitz. You got to alert the receiver that you're hot, and you got to break off your intended route and be in the right position. There's no play call. It's built into the offense.
John, this is a question Jody Mack used to ask you on Birds 365 all the time. If the Eagles win the toss tonight, defer automatically, or do they want to get that offense on the field and start quick?
Yeah, they're deferring. Yeah, that's their belief. And it's, it's most people's belief is you want to sandwich the halves with scores. So if you can score at the end of the first half and you get the ball back at the start of the second half and score, you're going to win that game. Basically,
Right. It's the best way to flip a game on its head. Yep.
So that's why most people do it that way. I do think there should be more debate, but not if you're a good team, not if you believe in yourself. You should always do that. For bad teams, look, if you're playing an explosive team, give me the ball because I want to shorten the game.
Right.
And, go on one of those 10-minute drives and boom, you wipe out most of the first quarter and you at least shorten the game and maybe you can stay in the game a little bit longer. So I think there's a feel for it, but normally with bad teams, if you're a good team, you just defer. And the Eagles are a good team, so I don't blame them.
Just 11 minutes left to go here on Birds 365. We're about 5 minutes out from the prediction from John McMullen on the game tonight. I might, I've been waiting for my prediction as well. I might throw a kink in where I've been all offseason on this game and come out the other way, but we'll see. Our predictions coming up in just 5 minutes.
I saw somebody said we gave our predictions. I didn't give.
No, they said that we've been talking bad about the Packers game all off season, so they insinuated they know which way.
Oh, well, I don't like I don't like giving up a home game to another NFC contender. I think that's
traveled
common
4,000 miles to play a home game.
Yeah, I think that's common sense more than anything else.
Yeah, no doubt about it, John. One more super chat here from James. This is great. I love James. He says, for good luck, J-Mac, can I get a stop it? Here's some help. Will they be calling lots of hot routes and checks? Thanks. John, you got to hit him with a stop it.
Well, those come, you
can't manufacture stop it.
Yeah, well, you can manufacture. I could say stop it, but
there you go. That's good enough.
It's not as fun if they are manufactured, but the hot routes, that'll get me there quickly. I mean, it's so dumb to me. I mean, come on, can we stop having that conversation? Boy, it drives me nuts. And more so when it comes from people that should know better. Nobody calls a hot route. Nobody in the history of football has called a hot route. It's dumb.
James Carver says that was good enough. You can't manufacture magic. Appreciate it. NFC East, this is what he's talking about. He says, nah, bro. When the schedule came out, y'all both said Green Bay was going to win. NFC East, that's a different projection than when you get to the game. There's obviously different circumstances in May.
I love.
I mean, come on, man. We didn't even have all.
Well, I respect. Honestly, I respect the people that pay attention because they pay attention. For instance, they know hot routes are not called. So, when we were playing the win-loss game, when the schedule comes out, don't hold me that, which I freely say this is the stupidest game in the history of mankind. And I hate that we have to do it. That's a win. That's a loss. I call it the Mike Francesa game. That's a win. That's a loss. I say every year. So if you're paying attention, good, but then you heard that as well. Tell me who's playing. What if Jordan Love got hurt in training camp? What if Jalen Hurts got hurt? I got to know in the moment. So if I did say the Packers were going to win when the schedule came out, it came with that caveat, which if you were listening and you seem like you were, then you know that because I said that at that time. And I know that because I say it every year at that time. How stupid it is.
No doubt. Sorry. You gotta have the
stop it.
There you go. There's a perfect time for stop it. Ryan says, Zander, have you announced how you're going to choose someone for the Barkley jersey? Ryan, YouTube gives me a list of all of our members. I will put their usernames in the member. So you have like a YouTube username. It's actually not Ryan. It's whatever your @ is. And then it will be a random drawing from our member list. And I will pick a member that way. And then I'll email you and you'll have to verify that it's your account that you're logged into on your phone by way of a screenshot or something like that. And then I'll send out the jersey and that'll be coming out right away. So I won't wait long. We'll probably do it, middle of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because I do want all the members have a chance to hear what we have to say, or at least be here to know that we're giving away the jersey. So that's how I will do it. Johnny Mac, let's get there, brother. Prediction time on Birds 365. The Eagles are kicking off their season tonight in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Eagles versus Packers. Eagles are the home team that will be wearing the white jerseys tonight. Johnny Mac, what's your prediction on this game tonight, man?
No, I'm sticking with the home team. I think it's going to be a lot of offense. I think both defenses are going to struggle with these offenses. And I think the Eagles are going to outscore the Packers 33-28-ish, I believe is what my final projection was. So I think a lot of offense. And, I don't think it would be the end of the world if they lose the game, but it is a very important game because both of these teams project to be potential NFC playoff teams. If everything goes well from an attrition standpoint. So I do think it is an important game. And I think the Eagles are a little bit more of a finished product on offense than the Packers, as funny as that sounds, because, the Eagles ended last season poorly and the Packers ended last season very well. But I think if you look at the bigger picture, as a matter of fact, I got my game notes. I'll tell you right now. The Eagles had the 8th ranked offense in the NFL. The Packers had the 11th ranked offense. The Eagles had the 8th ranked rushing offense. The Packers were only 15. Packers were a little bit better passing the football. That makes sense. Eagles were better in points per game. Eagles were much better in 4th down offense, first in the NFL. Tough to be better than that. They were better in 3rd down offense, and they were better in red zone offense. They're a more finished product. The Packers are still on the ascent, and there's still going to be some growing. But I think because of the way the season ended, people don't realize that.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac has the Eagles winning this game in the opener in Sao Paulo. I love it. For my prediction, Johnny Mac, I'm with you. I had the Eagles winning 34-31. I think it's going to be a shootout type of game, and I think Jake Elliott's going to make the difference in the end, and I think that defensive line is going to make it tougher on Jordan Love than he's thinking. I think they're going to get pressure, and I think it's going to be a tough game. So I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning the opener of the season 34-31 in Sao Paulo with smiles on the faces of Eagles Nation as the Birds fly back to Philly and get ready for week 2. So that is my prediction. Everybody in the chat, I would love to hear your guys' predictions. I'm going to bring some of them up. We got a couple minutes here to go on Birds 365. Jalen says 34-17 Eagles. Boy, that's a big score there.
I don't think you're going to have that much.
I don't think you're getting that, but we'll see. Fly Parks, I like that score, 31-28, similar to where I am at 34-31. 31.
I should have mentioned the Eagles do have a big advantage at kicker. So if it does come down for a kick, you're going to feel comfortable with Jake Elliott. Yeah.
Ian East from the UK. Ian, I saw your chats earlier, man. I'm going to have to take you up on the UK trip. He says 30-23 Eagles will win. Did anybody project a Green Bay win in the chat? I don't see it. Crowley checked in 40.
Even the Packers fan, Johnny Mac didn't project the Packers to win. Yeah.
James Carver, our man James Carver says 30-24. I think you have the Eagles there. We'll see. Mad Bird, my buddy Mad Bird, 31-28. Twiz with a massive win, 38-20. Look at this. Great stuff from everybody in the chat.
38-20. Come on, Twiz. Come on.
We'll see, man. Maybe that defensive line can disrupt Jordan Love more. Maybe Vic Fangio, John, has the tape on Jordan Love, and he brings it to him. and he struggles. So good stuff from everybody in the chat. Great show today. I thought Ed Kracz was awesome as always. I thought you were great as always, Johnny Mac. And I thought the fans today, the viewers of our show who make the show possible, were great as well today. Johnny Mac, just 2 minutes to go now, man. You gave your prediction. We previewed it all. What's your final thoughts as we now prepare for the last 10 hours until the Philadelphia Eagles
enjoy it? I would say enjoy it. There's only 17 of these things you're guaranteed. That's the thing about the NFL, the scarcity of it. So, I mean, it's not every day you get an Eagles game or an NFL game for that matter, although they're trying to make it like that. But you get the point. There's only 17 of them, so enjoy it.
That's a good take there. I said earlier in the show that I echoed the same sentiment where we have 156 days left until the Super Bowl. We had 234 days and since the Eagles lost their playoff game. So we have a 156-day run here to enjoy this season. I have a feeling in my gut, everybody, that this could be a historic season for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to remind everybody to tune in later on today on the channel. We'll have the National Football Show from 2 to 6. We'll have the JAKIB pregame show with John McMullen, Dan Cilio, and myself from 7 to 8 p.m. tonight. And then we will have the JAKIB postgame show. It'll look a little different this week because John is not at the game like he normally is. So it will be a little bit different than it normally is tonight on the pre and post game show. But I'm looking forward to talking to everybody on the show tonight. I think it's a good balance of objectivity, of Cilio, who's the bold prediction type of guy who makes the bold.
Hey, you're going to see some fireworks there, because
no doubt. And look, I think that's what's going to make great content, John. You and Dan have very different styles, and I think that's a good thing. So I'm excited to do that on with everybody. I look forward to seeing everybody in there. Thank you all today. You guys were great as always. One super chat on the way out from Prince Swayze. I will be drunk by 7:30. Prince, I love it. Stay safe, my man. We need you in here on JAKIB. So make sure you stay safe and drink in a good spot. No driving. No driving tonight. So appreciate everybody being here. Good show today, Johnny Mac. Enjoy the game tonight, my man. We'll talk to you on the pregame show. Leading into the game tonight.
If you want a drinking game, Prince, drink every time there's a legal formation. You'll be passed out by halftime.
Yeah, Prince will miss most of the game if he does that. So good stuff, Johnny Mac. Great show today, man. We'll talk to you later on the channel tonight. All right, brother?
All right, sounds good. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Enjoy the game.
Thanks, everybody, for listening on Birds 365. Hit that like button on your way out. Appreciate all of you guys for being here, and we'll see you next time on Birds 365.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.